white Brits are going to be a minority in Britain within the next 40 years.
Players are not at the gate. They're not at the gate. They're well inside.
Good evening. I hope you are all surviving out there in Clown World.
I've got to get some f***ing sleep, and I have to get it now.
It doesn't feel that long ago that it was Tommy Robinson and all the assorted outcasts screaming into the void that mass migration and Islamism were changing England beyond recognition. Back then, you were told this was hysterical, racist, fringe. Now, every sensible normie I meet says exactly the same thing. Of course, you do get the knuckles that deluded themselves into pretending we are in the upside down, and it's actually the far right who are smashing skulls in Lidl.
Please, shut it! I'll show you what happens! Stop! You're hurting me!
As always, it's the greedy white man's fault. Islamists are so far off these people's radars that even if they were being beheaded by one, they'd be frantically Googling far-right extremism to try and link the real danger to the guy selling them the knife. So apparently, everything is fine. But now, people aren't buying it. It seems the British public are done. About time. Where were you? Any of these ring any bells? And if the good old monthly terror attacks didn't shake you, that cafe you went to as a kid? Gone. The pub your dad drank in? Gone. The town centre you recognised? Gone. In their place, cities that feel unfamiliar even to the people born there. Streets where nobody knows each other, nobody trusts each other, and nobody feels particularly safe. They ignore the people screaming that something is wrong, rush to smooth over the fallout, and tell you not to notice patterns that keep repeating themselves. Let's be clear, this problem wasn't new 10 or 15 years ago. It's now beyond emergency. It may be too far gone to ever be saved. We are governed by drunk donkeys who have stolen our money for decades and used it to take a sledgehammer to everything we love. They make decisions that hollow out communities, import tensions they refuse to acknowledge, and then act offended when you notice the results. This didn't start with small boats. Legal migration has been high for decades. Demographic change has been rapid. And the total loss of confidence in who we are culturally, socially, historically, has left a vacuum that gets filled by anything with conviction. To put even a sliver of perspective on this, because most people genuinely don't know the scale, back in 1951, net migration to the UK was roughly 30,000, a 0.06% increase in the population. By 2023, net migration was 944,000. A 1.39% increase in the population. Immigration remained in the around 30,000 to 40,000 for over 4 decades. The big change came in 1997 with the election of the demon baron himself, peacekeeping parasite of death, Tony Blair.
Hi everybody, today's show is called Everyone's Invited Forever, the never-ending nightmare of the Tony Blair-led new Labour government. When Tony Blair was elected, lots of really silly people were super happy. They smiled real weird and dressed in sad clothes. What they didn't know was this man would introduce a raft of bad, icky things over the span of his reign. He sure didn't like the UK the way it was, so he permanently ensured vastly higher numbers of immigration year on year. Let's imagine that the United Kingdom is like a house. For a long time, the house had a lock on the door. Then, in 1997, Tony Blair became the boss of the house. Now, he didn't walk up and say, "Right, doors wide open forever." Oh, no. Instead, he changed lots of little rules. And when you add all those little rules together, click, the lock fell off. Let's look at the biggest ones. Rule 1, come work here. Tony Blair made it much easier for people to come and work in the house. He made lots more work tickets, more kinds of jobs, and lower-skilled workers. Rule 2, asylum rules got looser. More people were allowed to stay, bigger systems to look after them. So more people came and more people stayed. Rule 3, the big Europe door. In 2004, 8 Eastern European countries joined the European Union. Other countries said, let's wait 7 years before letting people work here. Tony Blair said, no waiting, come now. And lots of people did, hundreds of thousands, millions over time. Rule 4. A new way of thinking. Before Tony Blair, the idea was immigration is something to be careful with. After Tony Blair, the idea became immigration is good. Good for money, good for growth, good for businesses, good for public services. Later, they admitted they didn't expect so many people. Oops. The big problem. Tony Blair opened lots of doors, but didn't build strong systems to ask people to leave when they should, stop people staying longer than allowed, and help everyone fit in properly. So more people came in, but hardly anyone went out. The house filled up very quickly. A man called Andrew Nether, who worked for labor at the time, later said something very telling. The policy was designed to rub the right's nose in diversity and render their arguments out of date, which is a fancy grown-up way of saying they wanted to annoy their opponents and change the country on purpose. Well, mission accomplished. So when we look around today and think, gosh, how did it get this messy? Remember, this is where it all started. Join us next week when we learn about how Zach Polanski made women's boobs bigger with hypnosis. Science is amazing. Bye, everybody.
Fast forward to 2026, and what used to take Britain half a century to reach in immigration numbers now happens in 5 years. In fact, to blow your mind, the UK received roughly the same number of immigrants between 1997 and 2026 as it did over the previous 2 centuries combined. In the late 1990s, the UK had around 500 mosques. Today, that number is closer to 2,000. In 1997, there were roughly 1.5 million Muslims in Britain, about 2.5% of the population. Today, estimates sit at around 5 million, or roughly 7%. Those numbers alone don't tell the whole story, but they do show scale. And scale matters when institutions, policing, housing, schools, and social trust are already under strain. Over the past 2 decades, the UK has experienced multiple Islamist-motivated terror attacks, alongside repeated security failures, ignored warning signs, and serious scandals involving systemic abuse that were mishandled or outright avoided by authorities, who feared being accused of intolerance or assumed we would burn it all down. Add to that ongoing debates around honour-based violence, FGM, cousin marriage, and parallel legal or cultural norms that clash with British law and values. These aren't fringe topics anymore. They're documented problems that officials have been reluctant to confront honestly. And through all of this, the public response was mostly silence. Don't look back in anger, we were told. Are you shitting me? Except now people are noticing. That's why parties like Reform are gaining attention. And yes, it's refreshing to see someone acknowledge public frustration. But let's be honest, even Reform doesn't come close to addressing the depth of the issue. What's needed goes far beyond what any single party is currently willing or able to say out loud. And to be clear, the tension is cultural, not just numerical. Most people didn't object to Ukrainians arriving. Few complained about Hong Kongers. Here's where the numbers get uncomfortable. Even if the UK stopped all immigration from Muslim-majority countries tomorrow, demographic projections suggest the Muslim share of the population would still rise, driven by birth rate alone. By mid-century, estimates place that figure close to 10%. With continued immigration, some projections push it significantly higher. To put this in context, the average birth rate among white British families is around 1.4. Among Muslim families, estimates are closer to 2.9. Now add sustained high immigration levels, most of it from outside Europe, plus tens of thousands of illegal or untracked arrivals every year. If current trends continue unchanged, long-term projections suggest Britain could eventually become a Muslim-majority country sometime next century. This is something we need to acknowledge and confront. The left charges headfirst into this, while much of the right tiptoes around the issue, either terrified of being labelled intolerant or too overdosed on the Islamist propaganda over Israel. They join the left in this destruction. The result is paralysis. Recent global events have only poured fuel on the fire, exposing just how fragile social cohesion has become in parts of the country. Which brings us to Luton. Let's go now to our on-the-ground reporter, Pete Anderson, who's bravely reporting live from a town renowned for extremists.
Yes, Matters, that's right. I'm here in the Islamic extreme epicenter of Europe. Already today, I've seen 2 known ISIS terrorists getting some ice cream and several bearded men herding goats into a nearby Aldi.
Sounds grim, Pete.
It is. Can I go now, Matters? Some people are getting signs and the police said I might get arrested for stirring up cultural tensions. Pete Anderson for Mr. Matters, Luton, UK, really scared.
And here's the thing, Luton isn't unique. It's just earlier. Towns like this are coming to a high street near you. The sense of cultural dislocation, the loss of shared norms, the fear of speaking openly, brazen Islamist extremism, and it's spreading. We're standing at the edge now, 1 foot already over. So what do we do? At this point, the only thing we can do. Speak our minds and laugh at them as we try and claw back what they have taken from us. Welcome aboard.